Hey everyone, this is Nathan Williams with BlackRain79.com, and I am back here with another hand history review for you guys. So today's hand was sent to me by Piers, and this hand was played on PokerStars Full Ring at 5 cent, 10 cent, as you guys can see there, in all 10, and Piers has pocket deuces in the cutoff. So let's jump right into the action. So it folds to Piers in the cutoff, as mentioned, with pocket deuces. What should we do in a spot like this? I think you guys already know. My philosophy in a spot like this is just to always raise it. 3 times the big blind is pretty much the standard play these days, exactly what Piers does. So Villain 26 decides to call behind, the small blind folds, and the big blind makes a mini 3-bet. Now, if you guys watch my videos, you know that the number one thing that you should always be looking at in poker before anything else is stack size. Villain 28 only started the hand with $1.80, which is only about 20 big blinds. So in this spot here, I'm pretty much just going to be flatting. I don't really see any point in ISO jamming here because we have pocket deuces, and it's somewhat possible that Villain 26 has something really strong behind us that might flat a jam, but so overall I think that I'm going to agree with Pierce's decision here to just flats, but definitely I think that if I had something a little bit stronger, like say pocket nines and up, ace queen, ace king, I think I would just ship the rest in here, because I don't think, while Villain 26 can be getting tricky from time to time and could be flatting a little bit of a monster, I think it's pretty unlikely he's going to have that, and so we just kind of get him out of the way and just take down that dead money with a ship here. With pocket deuces, though, I think it's okay to just do what Pierce does. So Villain 26 comes along for the ride, and we'll see a flop. So it comes pretty good with the deuce 10 4 2 diamonds. Obviously, we got bottom set there. Now, before I go any further in this hand, let me jump into the HUD data and the reads that Piers gave me on these two players. Okay, so the player to our immediate left in this hand, Villain 26, is a 1601 passive regular, and the player in the big blind is a 3301 semi-fish, I guess we'll call them. If you guys don't know what those stats are, those are HUD stats, VPIP, PFR, and aggression factor. Essentially tell you the percentage of hands they're playing, how often they raise pre-flop, and how aggressive they are after the flop. These are all HUD stats. You can use a program like Poker Tracker, which I use. There'll be a link in the description below if you want to get these numbers on your screen as you play poker. So anyways, though, let's move on in the hand here. Let's see what happens. The action's going to be on Villain 28 to start. He decides to bet 50 cents because he is, of course, a recreational player, so, they bet wacky amounts, of course. A little bit of a silly bet, so I would definitely just be raising it up for value here with my bottom set, which is exactly what Piers decides to do. Awesome work. Villain 26, that's interesting. He decides to come along for the ride here. I don't really know what he can have in this situation here. There's obviously some draws on this board and everything, but with a tight player like that, that's a little bit alarming, and I'm not really sure what to make of that flat call, to be honest. But like I said, there are some draws on this board. It's the kind of player that could certainly have a hand like ace-jack of diamonds or something, and playing it this way would certainly make sense with all of his actions so far. I think, that basically puts Villain 28 all in, so he's going to be a non-factor throughout the rest of this hand. So now we go to a turn with the 3 of hearts. It really doesn't change a whole lot there. It does give a hand like ace-jack now has an additional straight draw if the 5 comes on the river. But ultimately, I still think that we're going to be far, far ahead in this hand most of the time. We should just continue with our foot on the gas pedal here, which is exactly what Piers does. He decides to make it just 350 here. I would really like to see it a little bit more. This is kind of a pattern that I see in a lot of the hands that people send me, and a lot of players in general at the micro stakes is just not really betting enough and just kind of giving your opponents the proper, pot odds to draw out on you here. I think a hand like ace-jack of diamonds almost has direct mathematical odds with a bet like this. So I'd really like to see a bet size a little bit larger, like $4.50 or $5, that basically just puts your foot down and says, look, if you're going to continue in this hand, you're going to make a mathematical mistake. This is really how I suggest playing at the lower stakes. If you've read any of my books, watch my videos here, read my poker blog. I really just like to make large and confident bet sizes at these stakes, knowing that I'm going to get called by worse hands and they're going to make those mathematical mistakes. So give them the opportunity to do that, guys. Make a large bet size when you get the nuts. So anyways, Villain 26 decides to come along, which is, I don't know what he could have at this point. I've got to assume he's got some sort of draw, because I think if he somehow had us coolered with fours or pocket tens, he's going to ship at this point to deny us the equity to draw out. But so I'm really putting him on some sort of draw at this point. So the river comes with a 6 of clubs. Now I think for some people this would be a little bit of a scary card, but I think in situations like this you really need to understand what kind of range your opponent's on, and I don't think he's going to have a 5 in his hand very often. I mean, you kind of got to ask yourself how many, hands, with a 5 in it, could he possibly be calling the flop with, especially. It's definitely possible that he had a hand with a 5 pre-flop. He could have like a 6-5 or pocket 5s, of course. And it's going to make sense for him to call our open and then call the mini 3-bet pre-flop. So everything checks out. He could have a 5 in his hand pre-flop. But, when the recreational player led on the flop and then we raised it a solid pot-sized amount to 240 on the flop, I don't see any reason why a hand with a 5 in it continues in the hand. Even a hand like 6-5, which would be a gut shot. Unless he had specifically 6-5 of diamonds, which, remember, there's only one combination of that hand, I just don't think that there's very many hands with a 5 on it that should ever be continuing. Especially, we know that this guy's only playing 16% of his hands, so we've got to assume he's a reasonably competent, regular kind of player. I just don't expect this player to have a 5 in his hand very often. So that's a long way of basically telling you guys here that I don't think the 6 on the river should really change anything. I don't think he's going to have a straight here very often. So Piers decides to check here, and I'm not really sure if that's to induce a bet here. If that's the case, then I think that's fine. But I think that just continuing with your foot on the gas here is certainly probably the play that I would just recommend most of the time. I know he's going to fold out all his draws and stuff here, but I do think, it's possible he's got a pocket jacks or he's got even a top pair somehow and he's going to call us down. But, checking to induce is probably not the worst play of all time either, because, again, it does give him the opportunity to ship his ace-jack of clubs here, or ace-jack of diamonds, sorry. But overall, I would definitely just lean more towards a bet in this spot here. Anyways, Villain 26 does ship it in, and now for me, this is just, again, as I just talked about, I do not believe that he's going to have a straight almost ever in this position here. I don't think he has a 5 in his hand very often. And so you really need to ask yourself, what can he honestly have that's ahead of us? I think that if he had pocket 10s or pocket 4s, he would have shipped the turn. Or possibly even raise the flop to deny us equity, thinking that maybe we're on a draw. So I don't think that he's going to have those hands very often. So I'm definitely going to disagree with Piers' decision here to fold on the river. I don't think that he's going to have a hand that beats us very often at all here. And I think that, honestly, I don't know what he can have, but I just don't think he has a hand that beats us very often. I think if we're going to check on that river, it's definitely to induce. We need to make the call here. So let's see what the results are. I know you guys want to see that. Wow, he had Jack 10 offsuit. And the other guy had aces. I guess this hand just kind of goes to show that the micro stakes truly are wacky. You never know what on earth these guys are going to show up with. I'm pretty shocked to see a guy who's, a nitty 16% VPIP guy calling pre-flop with Jack 10 offsuit and then taking this totally bizarre line when he hits top pair and shipping the river and everything. Very, very strange for me. But, overall, Piers, I think the way that you played the hand overall was good up until the river. I just don't see any reason to fold here. I don't think, like I said, I don't think he has a 5 in his hand. And maybe that's what you're thinking. Maybe you can Leave a comment below, or let me know in an email if you want, and I'll put it in the comments. Was that what you're thinking here, that maybe he has a 5? I don't think he has a 5 very often, so I'd really like to, if you're going to check on the river, I'd like to call. I'd like a call on the river and just force him to show you pocket 10s or pocket 4s. But, you know, other than the river, I think you played the hand fine. So anyways, those are kind of my thoughts on the hand, but as always, I want to know what you guys think, so let me know in the comments below how you would have played your pocket deuces here when you hit that set. It's kind of an interesting spot with the board run out. Do you agree with my analysis that he doesn't have a 5 very often? What do you put a player on like this? What do you think about the river? Do you just bet out there, shove the rest in? Do you check call in a spot like that? Would you ever check fold like Piers did in this hand? Let me know your thoughts on how you play this hand. And lastly, make sure you give this video a like if you enjoy watching microstakes poker videos like this, and also subscribe to my channel as I'm putting them out all the time. And lastly, make sure you grab a copy of my free poker cheat sheet. It's called Massive Profit at the Micros. It's the top link in the description below. That'll give you my complete strategy on how I crush these stakes. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. This has been Nathan Williams with BlackRain79.com.